Greetings from the American Baptist Church's USA Office of the General Secretary. My name is Reverend Rebecca Driscoll, the ABC Minister for Creation Justice. This year, the Office of the General Secretary and the Creation Justice Network are pleased to sponsor ecoAmerica's American Climate Leadership Summit. Our Creation Justice Congregations program brings together congregations from across the denomination to serve as the hands and feet of Christ to care for God's creation. You can join us in this ministry by visiting www.abc-usa.org/creation-justice. We hope that you enjoy this year's ACLS event. Peace and blessings to you.
Hello again. Next, we are going to celebrate local climate action. We know folks are going through a lot right now, so some of us may feel conflicted about celebrating, but we hope you agree that having a bit of hope and inspiration today can lift our spirits and help remind us that our work on climate solutions is more important than ever. Last year, ecoAmerica launched the American Climate Leadership Awards to recognize and award individuals and organizations nationwide who are engaging a broader diversity of Americans on climate solutions. The American Climate Leadership Awards were designed to help inspire and empower all of us to make a difference on climate change. Qualified applicants had these things in common. They had achieved measurable success in engaging Americans for climate action, whether it was locally, regionally, or nationally. Their success has the potential to be replicated by others like you. They centered diversity, inclusion, justice, and equity in their efforts, and there was an element of innovation in their work. With the help of a stellar judging committee, including judging chair Gina McCarthy, former EPA administrator and now the head of NRDC, climate champion Gus Best, Dr. Georges Benjamin of the American Public Health Association, Dr. Antonio Flores of the Hispanic Association of College and Universities, Mayor Jackie Biskupski of Salt Lake City, Nicole Horseherder of Tuonajoni Ane, Bishop Vashti McKenzie of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, Zero Hour founder Jamie Margolin, and climate mobilization founder Margaret Klein Solomon We narrowed down over 200 applications to 34 semifinalists, and from this, 10 finalists were selected, including the runner-up and winner. With the support of our funders, ecoAmerica has provided $155,000 in award money and national recognition to each of the 10 finalists. We want to help them continue their exemplary work and build even more momentum by broadcasting their work and encouraging others like you to join or replicate their initiatives. We were hoping to celebrate in person, but 2020 had other plans. So we are sharing their inspiring work today with you. So without further ado, I'm pleased to present the top 10 finalists for their 2020 American Climate Leadership Awards. Let's jump right in. I will introduce each finalist, then play the videos they submitted to promote their work. First up is CALPIRG Students, an organization of students who worked on 8 University of California campuses to win a UC-wide commitment to 100% renewable electricity. I'm very pleased to announce that CALPIRG students were the top winners of the 2020 American Climate Leadership Awards, receiving $50,000. Congratulations.
Students have the power to shape the future that we will inherit. Burning oil, gas, and coal is changing our climate even faster than scientists feared it would. We need to transform the way that we produce and consume energy. That's why we're working to transition our communities to 100% renewable energy.
In 2017, the Student Perks and Environment America launched a campaign to get 50 college campuses to transition to 100% renewables. Working at 8 UC campuses in California, our chapters, CALPIRG Students, ran and won a campaign to get the UCs to commit to 100% clean electricity. The UC's new plan is the farthest reaching campus commitment in the entire country.
We educated 30,000 students through class presentations, signed on 20,000 students in support of the commitment, got 100 faculty to sign on, passed UC student government resolutions, met with administrators and elected officials, and brought together 200 students for multiple clean energy lobby days.
This huge victory in the fight against climate change is inspiring further action. Just a couple of months later, we convinced UC Berkeley to go all the way and get all of their energy, not just electricity, but heating, cooling, and transportation from renewable sources by 2050. And now more universities like Vanderbilt and University of Arizona are following suit. You can get your campus to commit to clean energy as well. Download our toolkit at go100renewablecampus.org.
Next is CivicSpark, a program by Local Government Commission that builds capacity for local governments to address emerging environmental and social equity resilience challenges.
Hello, my name is Kif Scheuer. I'm a program director at the Local Government Commission. I'm excited to introduce you to CivicSpark, our statewide AmeriCorps program dedicated to accelerating local climate action while simultaneously launching the next generation of climate leaders. CivicSpark was born out of the premise that climate leadership starts at the local level. Local governments everywhere are struggling with climate change, not because they lack the will to act, but because they're working to keep the lights on and the roads open. CivicSpark mobilizes community momentum through on-the-ground collective action. To date, 230 climate fellows have contributed 360,000 hours to 400 projects for more than 150 local governments, including completion of 300 inventory and assessment reports, 250 climate policies, 50 climate action plans, and much more. All this great work is not the end goal, but rather a pathway to greater change. By focusing on organizational capacity, we are building staff knowledge, leadership support, and community buy-in, all of which are essential for public support and action. By creating a straightforward model of climate leadership, CivicSpark Fellows are moving the needle, taking California to the next level, and sparking the future of climate action. If you are passionate about tackling climate change, and like us, see the boundless potential in young people everywhere, we welcome your involvement as a partner, supporter, or participant, and would love to talk about how we can replicate this work across the country.
We'll now go to Don Sampson of the Affiliate Tribes of Northwest Indians Climate Change Project, who is building support for and political will for climate solutions amongst 57 tribes nationwide.
My name is Don Sampson. I'm the director of the Climate Change Project for the Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians, a consortium of over 50 tribes in the Pacific Northwest United States. Since 2014, our organization has been building public and political support for climate solutions with our tribes, state, federal, and international governments and partners. We've conducted 5 national and regional tribal climate summits with over 80 tribes and First Nations. We've conducted 4 week-long tribal climate camps with over 35 tribes across the U.S. to support climate adaptation planning. We've hired and trained 16 Native American college and high school interns and coordinated the engagement of 38 tribes on cap-and-trade and carbon tax legislation in Oregon and Washington state. We've represented our organization's tribes at the Paris Climate Accord and led tribal efforts to establish the National Congress of American Indians Climate Action Task Force, representing the 12 regions of the U.S. We've prepared tribal recommendations to the U.S. Senate and House Committee on the Climate Crisis. Of the 573 tribes in the United States, less than 60 have prepared for climate impacts. Our goal is to accelerate and expand tribal climate adaptation efforts through our national tribal climate summits, replicating our tribal climate camps throughout the U.S., sharing our experience developing state greenhouse gas policy and legislation, advising the National Tribal Climate Action Task Force, and leading the development of the National Tribal Climate Action Agenda for 2020 and beyond.
The next is Future Coalition. Founder Katie Eater and the Future Coalition have coordinated a coalition of 9 youth climate advocacy groups to lead the Fridays for Future climate strikes across the U.S., which engaged millions of youth and adult allies, including all of ecoAmerica, over the past year. Thank you for all you've done to wake America up on climate action.
Hello, my name is Katie Eater. I'm 20 years old and I'm the executive director of the Future Coalition. The Future Coalition is a network of youth-led organizations and youth organizers across the country. Essentially what we do is we provide a connective tissue between young people who are making change in their communities and then work to provide them resources that traditionally have only been available to adult-led organizing. Amongst other things, we coordinate the U.S. Climate Strike Coalition, which is the coalition of over 400 organizations across the United States that all works together to plan the climate strikes here. So we formed ahead of the September 20th climate strikes and were responsible together for turning out over 650,000 people in the U.S. and nearly 7 million people worldwide. The next climate strike is happening from April 22nd to April 24th. The 50th anniversary of Earth Day is April 22nd to the next International Climate Strike Day on April 24th. We are so excited to continue to grow and expand the coalition and together use our collective power to bring about the change we need to save our lives and our futures. To learn more about Future Coalition, you can go to futurecoalition.org. And to learn more about the climate strikes, you can go to strikewithus.org.
Faith in Place is our next finalist. Faith in Place's green teams help houses of worship in communities across Illinois, providing environmental justice leadership and creating healthier and more resilient communities.
My name is Veronica Kyle. I am the statewide outreach director for Faith in Place, and I've been with Faith in Place for a little over 11 years. Our definition of a green team, 3 or more people who come together consistently to work out a strategy to educate, advocate, and connect their house of worship, their community to environmental issues. No one organization and staff could reach this many people without a model like this. You need to have people on the ground. This issue around climate change, environmental justice, these are serious issues. And if we really only looked at the science, we would probably just all pull the covers over our head. But with the Green Team coaching model, you get to go out and strategize with a group of faithful people and say, we can do this thing. The uniqueness of our green teams at Faith in Place is because of our coaching model, our green teams can get things done. We have green teams who come out on our Advocacy, our lobby day, we go to Springfield. We've had conversations around climate change and climate justice. We realize that we are in Illinois, but this message can go across the globe. This model across the globe, and we're very, very willing and able to share it.
Now, Los Angeles can be thought of as one of the coolest cities around, but the fact is it can be a very hot place. Our next finalist is Climate Resolve with their Keep LA Cool campaign, connecting members of vulnerable and disadvantaged communities with resources to help them keep cool during days of extreme heat.
Among the climate impacts that will most negatively affect the people of Los Angeles, extreme heat pretends to be the most detrimental, especially to low-wealth communities. According to University of California scientists, downtown Los Angeles will see a tripling of extreme heat days exceeding 95 degrees Fahrenheit by mid-century. Climate Resolve's Keep LA Cool campaign is multifaceted, but with two interconnected goals: reduce greenhouse gas emissions that are promoting climate change, and help Angelenos keep their homes, neighborhoods, and city cooler in the face of rising temperatures.
Progressive and pragmatic. We're trying to go as quickly as possible towards a decarbonized state here in California, but at the same time, we're really concerned about not getting out ahead of the public. We need to bring them along with us. And the best way to do that is to make climate change personal for them where they live. Today, there are now over 30,000 cool roofs. A few years ago, there were none. And today, we have over 100 streets that are covered with cool materials as a way of reflecting sunlight back into space, getting at the greenhouse problem at the core, and more importantly, cooling down the region. Thanks to ecoAmerica, we've discovered that it takes experimentation, it takes asking questions, it takes pushing the envelope to find new ways to discover what works best in any given city.
Over the past 10 years, Climate Resolve has grown to be California's leading organization in addressing the social and environmental impacts of extreme heat. We tackle this problem with successful advocacy, collaboration, and community outreach.
Next is Piper Christian, who organized high schoolers to introduce and pass the concurrent resolution on environmental and economic stewardship through the very conservative Utah State Legislature. Piper also joined us on day 2 of the American Climate Leadership Summit to talk about how we can ally and support youth efforts to drive change for climate solutions.
My name is Piper Christian. In 2018, I served as a leader in the effort to pass the House Concurrent Resolution on Environmental and Economic Stewardship, or HCR 7, through the Utah State Legislature. In 2010, the Utah State Legislature passed a resolution which adamantly denied climate change. Upon learning of this, I and my peers felt that our state leaders' short-sightedness endangered our future. In response, I led my high school environmental club in introducing a resolution which recognized climate change and urged action to mitigate it. Over the next 2 years, we organized a statewide coalition of civic leaders, businesses, nonprofits, and over 250 students to lead the most successful youth-led climate campaign in state history. We testified at hearings, led marches, gathered petition signatures, spoke at schools, and more. As a result of our efforts, we passed our resolution in 2018 with over 70% support through a legislature with an 88% Republican supermajority. Our campaign laid the groundwork for future climate action in my state. In 2019, the Utah legislature allocated $200,000 to create a roadmap to address climate change and reduce carbon emissions, inspired by our student effort. I wish to share our story so that students nationwide can know their power in politics. I urge others to replicate our efforts and bring about meaningful climate action within their states. Thank you.
Now on to Portland Clean Energy Fund, providing grants and training for renewable energy, energy efficiency, and green infrastructure projects, benefiting frontline communities in the greater Portland region.
The Portland Clean Energy Fund will seed hundreds of community projects that will help both lower people's energy bills as well as create living wage jobs that can allow people to stay in Portland and support their families. This is the first time that Portland has ever seen a coalition like this.
I believe that the Green, Brown, Black coalition, what benefits that coalition will benefit all Portlanders.
What do we want? Clean energy! When do we want it? Now!
When you can come up with a proposal that actually handles three of the big ones, right, which is climate, economic, and racial justice all in one fell swoop, why would you not do that?
Hola and bienvenidos a Regeneración, an organization that co-creates relevant and relatable climate solutions with the people most at risk of impacts in the Pajaro Valley, primarily the Mexican heritage farm worker community. I'm very pleased to report that Regeneración has won runner-up in the American Climate Leadership Awards, receiving national recognition and $25,000.
Hola, yo soy Francisco Paco Estrada y yo nací y crecí en la bella ciudad de Watsonville, California. Las familias del campo, los que menos han aportado a la crisis del clima, han sido los más afectados por este problema. Without the efforts of Regeneración, the primarily Mexican heritage farm worker community would remain unrepresented in local response efforts. We are building an inclusive and inspirational climate justice movement that's relevant to our area by enrolling many other organizations as partners. En el Valle del Pajaro, esto significa elevar las voces de los jóvenes, de los campesinos y de otros quienes más sienten el impacto y efectos serios de salud causado por el calor y la contaminación del aire y el agua y el contacto directo con las pesticidas. While deeply rooted in and unique to the Pajaro Valley, Regeneración's success can serve as a model for the nation for a place-based representative response to the climate emergency. Únete a Regeneración y juntos trabajaremos para la justicia y para vivir en armonía con la naturaleza. Gracias.
And last but not least is Sunrise Movement, who seemed to burst onto the scene and all over the news a little over 2 years ago. And since that time has mobilized people to the streets with marches and other creative and engaging actions in support of the Green New Deal.
Hi, I'm Araceli Jimenez, and I'm the Deputy Communications Director for Sunrise Movement. Sunrise is building an army of young people to take on the fossil fuel millionaires and fight for clean air, clean water, good-paying jobs, and healthy communities all across this country. And at the end of 2018, we popularized this vision for America, calling it the Green New Deal. And since then, we have trained thousands of young people in the art of moral protest, taking to the streets by the millions on days of global climate strike. We've made the climate crisis a top issue of the 2020 presidential race, demanding that our leaders finally invest in communities that have been left behind by the status quo. And this year, 2020, we're asking all of our supporters to dig deep with us. We sum up our 2020 strategy with just 3 words: organize, vote, strike. In order to build a truly mass movement, we need young people from the plains to the mountains to the coasts to talk to their communities and get out the vote for Green New Deal champions up and down the ballot. Then we need to ramp up our moral protests like never before to hold the next administration responsible. And you can get involved by signing up right now at sunrisemovement.org/join.
What a powerful and inspiring top 10 finalists. And you can imagine that it was very hard for the judges to pick a runner-up and winner out of those top 10. But I am now here with those 2 folks. I'm here with our 2020 American Climate Leadership Awards runner-up, Nancy from Regeneración, and our winner, Kat from CALPIRG Students. Congratulations again to both of you, and thank you for joining us today. Nancy,
thanks so much.
Yeah, great to see you. Nancy, I want to particularly thank you for being here today. You live in an area of California that literally is surrounded by fires, with many of your residents getting evacuated. When I was looking at the videos that we were just playing and seeing the beautiful Pajaro Valley, and now I know it's covered in smoke and on fire, it just was heartbreaking. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge the devastation to your community and to the very people you engage and support through your organization. If a pandemic or economic downturn or racism weren't enough to wreak havoc on your climate work, now you have the fires. So first and most importantly, how are you doing? And also, how are you managing to continue this work on climate in the midst of all of this?
Thank you, Meighen. It's really wonderful to be here. And as you mentioned, I am surrounded by wildfires, and the air has been smoky, really bad quality. It's hard for me to concentrate. I'm really pulled to keep scanning the news for updates. I know friends directly whose houses have burned, and we're also trying to get N95 masks out to farm workers who keep working in the smoke. So it seems like once a disaster strikes a community, everyone's attention is diverted right there to the immediate danger and loss, and huge sums of money are directed to recovery. But then it's even harder to make progress on the underlying bigger issues. However, this year is bringing multiple opportunities to show how the pandemic, how racial injustice, and climate destabilization are all products of the same irrational economic system, which is prioritizing profit for few over the well-being of all. So at Regeneración, we're broadcasting messages about climate change being the underlying cause of this unprecedented wildfire. And we're pushing county supervisors to help people think about rebuilding smaller and more sustainably. We're also working to help people think forward, not like a return to normal, to invest now in climate action so we can help prevent more disasters, to invest in renewable energy, low carbon transportation, and use fewer resources. But meanwhile, this year, we did host our second Climate of Hope forum online, which allowed us to bring in speakers and an audience from all over. And we think this was the first event in the United States to feature all Latinx speakers and address how rising temperatures are affecting an agricultural community from various perspectives. And that's something you can still watch on our Facebook page. But picture people working 10 to 12-hour days in 80 or 90 degree temperatures or even higher, and now being unable to escape wildfire smoke while they're working. And hundreds of thousands of people in our country are doing this so that we can all eat. I don't know if you know, Meighen, I was a former kindergarten teacher. I taught children of farm workers for many years. And I see myself as just one person who decided to change my life trajectory and to help everyone around me understand this reality of the human-caused climate change and find ways to take solutions, to take action. So at Regeneración, we're integrating climate response into many sectors of our community, and we keep trying to center our events and local solutions on the people in our community being hurt first and worst. So we will be convening community conversations for climate action through workplaces and neighborhoods. We're trying to demystify electric vehicles and other things like that. But personally, I think we should call each other climate warriors, whether we're right now caring for children, working to end poverty, fighting for racial justice, or stewarding the land, because that's what climate justice really entails. You know, nothing else will matter if we don't preserve a livable planet, and everyone wants that. Everyone wants a place to live. So I think climate warriors can be found everywhere. And let's find and name each other and all join forces.
Absolutely. Thank you again for all you're doing. And I saw a news report that farm workers are getting up before the crack of dawn to farm, so because the heat is so intense. Just a lot of gratitude for the work you're doing and for the work that they're doing as well. Kat, you're also in California, but experiencing something a little different, additional stressors of your own. Not only have there been intense heat waves in Los Angeles where you live, but also the UC schools are attempting to get back into session with various mixtures of on-campus and remote learning. And as noted with Nancy, Santa Cruz County is on fire, and the students of Santa Cruz had to leave, had to be evacuated at a certain point. So how are you doing, and how has your work for the UC climate commitment progressed and moved forward in the midst of all of this compound crises?
That is right. We are feeling the real impacts of climate change on our lives with wildfires across the state. And our organizer and some of the student leaders in Santa Cruz did have to evacuate. So it's been a stressful time, and I think reminds us all how urgent it truly is to deal with the climate crisis. And on our end, Organizing student leaders and youth climate activists, you're right, almost all of them are not going back to in-person classes this fall, and they're going to have remote learning terms. So I definitely think that's the right thing to do. I'm glad that they are safe during COVID, but there are obviously challenges for all of us to do organizing remotely. But with all of that, I do still feel really hopeful. Since we last talked about this work in March, we have really worked hard to transition our program to the virtual world. And as they took to the streets this summer, we all saw that young people want to make a difference and fight for a better future, maybe now more than ever. So this summer, we worked with over 300 volunteers and interns through our remote internship program. And thanks in part to our generous award money, that really helped us, because instead of having to make as big of cuts, we were able to hire a field organizer. So now we've expanded our presence to more colleges and universities across the state to work on our 100% clean energy campaign. So we're able to work now with even more youth leaders to help them organize to get climate policies at their school. And we've still been able to make a lot of social change as well. Plastic is a huge contribution, the production of plastic to fossil fuels and climate emissions, as well as ocean pollution. So we've been working on that as well. And just this last Monday, we announced with the University of California their commitment to eliminate single-use plastics on all of their campuses, like water bottles and plastic bags. So another amazing example of student leaders pushing for strong policies for our environment. And we're also advocating right now for state policies that encourage electric vehicles. So we're facing a lot of challenges, I think, across the entire country, but young people definitely are still fighting really hard for the planet and the future that they want to inherit.
Oh, that's fantastic. Credit to your work and credit to young people. So thank you so much. I want to end with advice. What advice do you have for someone listening today? What are the steps they can take now to generate or accelerate local climate action in their communities in ways that care for the climate, but also our health, the economy, the most vulnerable among us? Let's start with you, Nancy. What advice do you have?
Yeah, I'd say to accelerate climate response that's really relevant to and representative of your community, you first have to make a decision. So I'm going to ask people to try repeating after me. I decide that I won't let the planet become unlivable. Let's do that. I decide that I won't let the planet become unlivable. And then find your thought. What does that mean to you? This means da, da, da. So maybe some people could write an idea in the chat. Keeping that decision in mind, go out and build relationships with leaders in your community, from government, health, education, etc., and ask them how they think people they serve are being or will be affected by the destabilizing climate.
Thanks, Nancy. Kat?
I definitely agree. And then I do want to encourage folks to still remember that we can make a big difference even when we're isolated in our own homes. We can still reach out to our community in creative ways, whether it's over the phone or email or social media. And legislators do still want to hear from constituents, so we should definitely all keep calling and emailing them. And I'm really excited that we've been talking at this conference about voting. That is one of the most important things that everybody can do this fall to participate in our democracy. We're working to mobilize 500,000 students to vote across the entire country. And so everybody should spread the word to young people that you know, to your communities, encourage them to vote. And folks can register to vote at studentvote.org.
Thanks, Kat. Fantastic. No rest for the weary here. I really appreciate all you're doing and making my commitment as well. So best wishes for your continued success. And I want to encourage all of you who are listening today to see how you can engage with Kat or Nancy or any of our top 10 finalists. Follow their model, replicate it, figure out how it can work for your own local community. Thanks again, Kat and Nancy. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'm pleased to announce that as of today, we have opened up applications for the 2021 American Climate Leadership Awards. So calling all climate change heroes, activists, and change makers. Are you doing like Kat and Nancy and working to engage Americans in climate advocacy and action? Have you made important progress even during this time of compounded crises? Could your work be a model replication for others to follow? If so, we welcome your application for the 2021 American Climate Leadership Awards from ecoAmerica. These awards recognize, reward, and share best practices on climate change advocacy and action in America. We are proud to offer money, support, and national recognition to climate leaders and organizations who are building political resolve for climate action at the local, regional, and national levels, particularly those of you who are centering diversity, inclusion, and justice in your work. So we invite you to submit your application for current programming and demonstrates measurable results. We are looking for effective and innovative programs and compelling storytellers who can articulate how they are building public support to slow or stop climate change in ways that are just, inclusive, and equitable, and to help to dismantle racism during our unprecedented time of multiple crises. The 2021 selection committee includes attorney and Couchiching First Nation Anishinaabe and former Native advisor to Bernie Sanders, Tara Houska, climate hero Gus Speth, APHA President Dr. Georges Benjamin, 35th Mayor of Salt Lake City, Jackie Biskupski, Executive Director of Tuonuzoni Ani, Nicole Horserter, Sophia Galani of Green Muslims, Mark Weiskopf of Harvard, and Kea Chatterjee of the U.S. Climate Action Network. NRDC President and CEO Gina McCarthy will once again be chairing the committee this year. So the committee welcomes your submissions to encourage further climate action and provide examples of creative, inspiring programs for others to follow. So why apply? What's in it for you? There's a lot. There are so many of you who are working hard to address climate and really multi-solve for our other concurrent crises, all during a time when money is tight. So we hope you will be pleased to hear that the American Climate Leadership Awards will once again award $150,000 to 10 innovative and replicable initiatives. So each of the finalists selected will be awarded $10,000 plus travel and accommodation to the American Climate Leadership Summit in 2021, which will be in Washington, D.C. on April 27th. A runner-up receiving $25,000 total and a winner receiving $50,000 total will be announced live during the award ceremony at the ACLA Gala on the April 27th. And I'm pleased to report that not only are we accepting applications as of today, but that you can also nominate somebody to apply as well. So please nominate someone by November 2nd. Applications are due December 15th, and we look forward to your submissions. The application and nomination links are now live, so go to ecoamerica.org for more information and to sign up for our upcoming informational webinar on September 14th. You can also email us at the address shown on the screen. Best of luck, and tell a friend about the American Climate Leadership Awards.